Welcome, Abby Rose.
Hello. Oh, I'm so glad we've made it here.
Me
This is
too.
gonna be good.
We it took us a few goes, but we've made it, which is so exciting. I'm pumped for this conversation, and I'd love to just actually hand it straight over to you and let you introduce who you are, what you do, like a bit of your backstory and how you've got to where you are today.
Wow, that's how long have we got? No. Okay. Highlight reel of Abby Rose. Hi
Yeah.
guys, Abby Rose. Yeah. So I used to brand myself as the spiritual accountant. Um, and I recently went through a little bit of an ego death around that one. But yeah, my background is business, finances, accounting, and personal development, spiritual development. And now my focus is really helping people tap into their legacy and tap into their unique expression of that legacy and really wrap it in a business sense and how you can generate wealth from a business when you're in connection to that legacy. So it's been a beautiful journey to this point, and I'm so excited for what's to come because the people that I help, they're the amazing, amazing people that I get to work with that are doing things in this lifetime that is literally changing the very fabric of our economy and our lives and the future generation. And I think I just look at myself as I'm a bit of an all-rounder. I can help in many ways, but I show up for people. I help the people that are helping the people in whatever that looks like.
I love that. I love it. And so legacy is a big piece for you. I love that. Same for me. It's just tell me a little bit about that. Like what is legacy and mission? Like what drives that element for you?
So the legacy, I think we're all, well, I normally say this, right? The number one most important day of your life was the day that you were born. The second most important day of your life is the day that you found out why. And I think there are some souls, there's some human souls, there are some people that feel they were born for more. And sometimes we don't know what that looks like or how to get there, or there's just this something inside of us that says we're part of something greater for good. So when you anchor that energy and when you anchor that passion, you can really drive your decisions and your business into a way that produces more resources, and then those resources then are dedicated to that legacy, and there's this ripple effect that goes far beyond, a bank balance. So everyone has a legacy, I believe. Every soul. There hasn't been a single soul that I haven't had a conversation with that doesn't have a legacy. But there's varying expressions of that legacy and what that impact looks like, whether it's physical, tangible, energetic, emotional, whether it's in your family unit. So I think we're all just here to build a better world
Mm.
and show up in this world in a better way. So it gets to be what it is for you. And in that there's a fulfillment piece. And for some souls, in that there is a money piece, a wealth piece, and a success piece. because we've got to step into that now. Now's the time. So I'm here to be the catalyst for that.
Mm. I love that so much. I also want to say, I want to share, hopefully it's okay. I didn't ask you if it was okay if I shared your human design with
Oh, of course.
everyone.
Go
Is that
ahead.
okay? Yeah.
Yes.
So, and I'm going to give you a little piece at the end, babe, just a little intuitive
I love it.
expression for you at the end to tie
Mm.
it up and to give you a little, yeah, acknowledgement for who you are and what I see in your chart. I love to do that just for fun. But Abby's type is manifesting generator 3-5 profile. And what else did I want to say? And also sacral authority. So, but I'm going to come back because, you know, everything that you have done, a big part of your business from the spiritual accountant and even where you're moving forward now, it's a lot about wealth creation, right? Money. We're going to come back into that. I want to backtrack a little bit because I think that it's an important conversation. I think a lot of people will be interested to understand what has happened for you to really go through that ego death of the spiritual accountant and into this next phase of you and your business and where you're headed. What was what was a bit of the catalyst of that, and what have you gone through? How have you navigated that to step into this new pathway?
For sure. So it was a huge death of the martyrdom, wanting to save everyone, wanting to help everyone, wanting to free the slaves, wanting to be the bridge that carries everyone across and save humanity.
Mhm.
Really, if you zoom right out, that's, I think, what was underlying. And um, for me now, it's like, yeah, and not at your own expense.
Yeah, I was going to say, at what cost?
At what cost?
Yeah.
And and I would rather show up in my authentic expressions for a small few than appease the masses and try and save everyone.
So realizing that and having that deep awareness, then, you know, it's yeah, when you've built a business and when you've built a brand around a certain name, right? It's like people know you as that. People have known you as that. And so there's a grieving process I'm guessing you've had to go through
Yeah,
to to let go of that identity and to
yeah.
step into what's that looks like for you. How have you handled that?
Um, so it's been challenging because there's parts of me that wants to hold on. You
Yeah.
know, I even mentioned I used to brand myself as a spiritual account, right? Because it's an edge. I love being edgy and
Yeah.
I love cutting through the shit and I love sharing truth. So it's been really hard to let go of those parts of me. Um, but I feel that it's not actually let going, but it's more of a refinement. And as more
Mhm.
as I come into my own power and refine that, you know, I don't have to appease the masses. If you're not for me, you're not for me. That's okay. I send you love. See you later.
Mm.
But if you are, I've got some really good shit to share.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about richness.
Mm.
And richness is in what we talk about on Born to Be Rich is so much more than the wealth. And there can be a lot of rich people that are actually really fucking miserable or,
Oh,
you know, that show the perception of wealth, but maybe they're not, or maybe there's a lot in their life that actually isn't rich. So, what does richness actually mean to you, and how have you been able to curate that in your life?
sure. So for me, richness is in the experience of life.
Mm.
And I experience life through connection. and it's my connection to myself and to others. So for me to have a rich life, I'm fostering connections with friends, family, clients, people, humanity that fulfills me and that leaves me feeling like I have such an abundance around me of love, compassion, resources, mission, collaboration, all of the things, and the beautiful byproduct of that. So I feel like, to me, the richness is how we experience each other and how we experience life, and it's through these interactions that you gain that. And fundamentally, I feel it just comes back to relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you got a personal experience where you've like had to really learn this lesson of maybe really pursuing the traditional forms of richness, pursuing wealth, um, and realizing that actually wasn't where your
For
happiness was? Well, it
sure.
can bring happiness, of course. Like,
Oh,
I
for
mean, who
sure.
doesn't love having money, right? Like,
Oh, money
but
gives you choices,
it
right?
does, it does,
Yeah,
yeah. And you
yeah.
can definitely have more fun.
For
Um,
sure, for sure. Well,
yeah.
this
And
is
go ahead.
this is like, if I look at my traditional accounting background, where I had public accounting practice, I had staff, I had a business partner, I was also working as a CFO. But when it came to my relationships and client relationships, professional relationships, my marriage at home, my bank account might have been rich, but my relationships, dead inside. I was dead inside. I was an NPC myself. I was asleep. And yeah, you can have all the pretty things and the fancy things on the outside, but if the inside is yeah, and I could only reach a certain level of success with that. So it wasn't until, my spiritual awakening and then moving into my connections and into self-development and all of those things that I then cultivated a deeper richness inside. And I then launched a business around that, around better relationships, relating better with people. And I worked on that for myself. And I didn't always get it right. I fucked up. But that then created different qualities within me: the ability to communicate, the ability to set boundaries, the ability to speak my truth, the ability. And it was through that I then started tapping into more richness in the relationships, in dynamics, in my business, and then the end result of that was success. It was financial success. Financial success. So people that seek financial success, they miss a very important element. It's like, well, who are you and how do you show up in the world? How do people experience you? Yeah, they might throw money at you, but how are they experiencing you? I think it's important.
Absolutely. Yeah, so important. It's that behind the scenes element, right? It's like what you show
Sure.
on the outside, like what actually happens behind the scenes. What's the
Yes,
back end of your business looking like? What's the relationship
exactly.
like with you and your team? Like how
Yes,
do you relate with them and
yes,
support them and give to them and yeah, have that healthy, really, yeah, just in love with business kind of element going on. And I think that that's not as common as what it may appear.
yeah.
Yeah. I love it. So when you had your spiritual awakening, like what happened? How did that look? Yeah, was it was
God,
was it was it like
the
this
moment.
was it like a
Oh,
light bulb thing for you, or was it a bit of
no.
a slow burn?
No, it was fast. It wasn't a light bulb. I was thrown off a cliff and I was free falling. So I remember the specific moment. It was like in a split second, I went from dead asleep to wide awake. And admittedly, it was a night that I was on the floor of the kitchen in my home after my husband had just walked out of on me and told me that he didn't love me anymore, and my son and my daughter were no longer in my care. And that was a pivotal moment for me,
That's big.
and there was just something when I was on the floor, and I don't know if it was God but it was that glimmer, that little light that said, "You will never be here again."
Mm.
And something in that just felt so healing. It was like it awoke me out of a slumber. It catapulted me, and I didn't have any answers. I didn't know what I was going to do or where I was going to go. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know, but it was so loud, I couldn't ignore it. And that was the moment that I was like, "Oh, there's something here. What is that?" And I got curious. I'm like, what was that? What was that that spoke to me? And, whether you want to call it God, source, spirit, your higher self, your future self, whatever, your heart, your being, your legacy, it could be anything, right? Whatever resonates. But it was so palpable in that moment that I then felt guided by it. And I felt like I had some kind of pinpoint or like a compass point. So it took me a while before I heard it again. Um, and then that kind of became like a psychic muscle to exercise. So the only way I could do that was through the trust, trusting it, trusting that, okay, I'm not hearing anything and I don't know, and I'm in a world of pain, but I wanna find out what that is and access it again. So then I worked on that access. And the more I access it, the more I heard it. And then the more I trusted it, the more I followed it. I forget the question.
I love it. What we answered it.
Okay, I had a moment.
We did have a moment. That's
Little.
beautiful.
Mm.
I love that. It's sometimes, right, those most painful moments that we actually need to wake us the fuck up because,
Oh,
right,
yeah.
it sucks when we're going through it, and it sounds like that would have been just fucking heartbreaking and just so painful to go through, and it can be the best thing that happens to us because
Best
it's
thing
what
that
we
ever
needed.
happened.
Yeah.
Best thing. Like, if I know why I didn't hear that voice again. Because if I knew then what I know now, I probably wouldn't have done some of the things that I did. So sometimes we don't need to know all the answers.
It's true. Yeah. So your relationship now with spirit, God, source, um, is something that you've built over time and developed that relationship is what I'm hearing in what you've
Mm,
shared.
mm, yeah.
Yeah. And so do you have a practice, like a daily practice that you kind of go in and really connect, or is it something that you just do in between the moments, or how
It's
does
in
it look?
between the moments,
Mm,
you have to become attuned to it.
totally.
Yeah, and it's a discernment between, well, where am I making these decisions from? Is it coming from ego, or is it coming from this And when you attune to it, you can then, it's subtle to begin with, but then you can really um, tell the difference in the feeling of your decision making process. Now, I can tell you a week ago, I made decisions from ego. So it doesn't mean you don't, because we're still human and we still have these egoic wants.
Yeah.
And the ego's there to protect us. It's not a bad thing at all. And I think it's just then when you become attuned and accustomed to checking in on yourself and how are you feeling? What are your boundaries? What is this? What is that? Then yeah, you just get better at it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that I've worked on as well with my relationship with my faith.
Mm,
And whereas before I used to think, oh, I need to make time for that. I need to sit in ceremony. I need to sit and make time and do that and connect in. But like yourself, now for me, it's this it just happens every day, and it happens in between the
mm.
moments where it's kind of like a relationship. You know,
Oh,
you don't,
sure.
right? You can't just um make time for it when you want to make time for it. A relationship
Ah,
is, especially an intimate relationship that you're in every day, right? It's like happening every day, and you've got
yeah.
to have conversations in the moments when they're there, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
um
for certain. And I see it like this, when you've lived a life where you've had no relationship to self, right? And you have constantly people pleased and always given to others. You're kind of in a bit of a deficit. So in order to rebuild that relationship, we pendulum swing, right? So then from no relationship to relationship, so we have to go to the opposite side and throw ourselves into relationship with ourselves. And we do the ceremonies and we do the meditations and we do the affirmations and we do the mirror work and we do this and we do that, all the things.
yeah.
But then there comes a point where we balance back out and we've cultivated that relationship. So you don't have to keep putting so much deposit into it. It just becomes a natural state of being. You're connected to self, you're in tune with self, you know who you are and you know how you operate. So you're making decisions from that space. And there's no pendulum of disconnect to connect. It's like we just see that we're connected in every moment and we're just experiencing that connection in different ways.
Yeah, that's so true. That's such a great piece of wisdom for everyone who's listening to take on, and to not make it wrong, right? Because there is often there needs to be that swing over for us to experience that and dedicate ourselves to that. And then yeah, we can come it back into that balance, into the harmony.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful. And so one of the things that are working with and really specializing in is the financial metrics for entrepreneurs, people in business. And I love it because I think it's an area that either, especially for a lot of the people that I personally work with that are probably listening to this podcast, haven't come from the background of finances,
Oh,
or, and have followed their heart, followed their
yeah.
heart and ended up in business. And now it's like, oh shit, now I need
Now
to,
what?
right? I need to actually take care of my finances and understand it. And so there can be that of, I just don't know. And in that, there can also be an avoidance of it.
Big time.
What
Big
is,
time.
is that a big thing that you have seen? And what tips have you got for people who
Yeah,
experience that?
so this is so prevalent,
Mm.
so prevalent. So, from my background in accounting, I used to deal with tax time and the stress and overwhelm and pressure, also the trauma that come with that. And I think one thing that doesn't get spoken about is financial trauma. And a lot of people walking around, they're working on their emotional trauma and their spiritual trauma, but no one's working on their financial trauma. And there's a lot of burying their head in the sand. There's a lot of, I'll deal with it later. It's not important. Or I just need to make ends meet. Or I just, You know, there's and all of it is totally perfect. Um, but what I love to maybe lift the lid on a little bit is some of those behaviors and actions that you're doing or failure to act is from trauma, from traumatic financial relationships. And as a result, let's work with that to move beyond it. Let's get comfortable. You don't need to have an accounting degree to understand your finances. It's plus and minus, ins and outs. That's it. There's a bit of psychology behind it too, which I can help with, right? And the way that we've been taught to do finance is wrong. There's not a one way, there's not a one size fits all approach. And when I work with people on their finances, I see it. It's a spectrum. People do it differently. And I encourage that. And I think the biggest piece is let's overcome some of those preconceived ideas that you have around finances and just pull the band-aid off. Let's look at it, gain the awareness, learn how to read it so that we can then start making decisions in business that are going to help us get the resources that are needed to carry out our missions. It's as
Boom.
simple as that.
Love it. So I've seen this. I see this in my own clients of the what you spoke about, that financial trauma, which could be they've had a business, lost money, are wounded by that, and so scared about that happening again. Um, maybe came from working for other people and doing work that they just didn't like, and they're kind of miserable in that, and realizing didn't matter what I did, didn't matter how much I made, like I was still really miserable. Like, what's the point of it? Right. You know, there can be a lot of that as well with that relationship to money, and or had a lot of money come in, lost it, fucked it up, you know, like spent it, just didn't know how to work with it, manage it, make it grow, and so forth. Um, so what would you recommend in terms of like a really good place for them to start? What could they start to do to work on those
Mhm.
elements for themselves?
Well, yeah, this has been part of my rebirth lately, and one of the things that landed last week is I don't want anyone to have a barrier to entry on this. And the biggest barrier is finances. People are in financial trauma because of their finances. And people, to heal that, they need to have something that helps them through that, that doesn't create more financial trauma. So I've created a free program around it, and I'm running it next week, and it's everything. It's all of it. It's teaching you profit and loss, looking at the metrics, what you need to do in business. It's for me, this is not a cash grab at all. There's nothing off the back end of it. This is I genuinely want you to succeed in business. So here, have this. Have it. This is
Love
my
it.
gift to you, because if you have this information and you can then use it to then start looking at your metrics and gaining insights and clarities and make different decisions, that's going to help you in the long run, which is immeasurable. I want you to overcome that trauma without re-traumatizing you. So so, you know, that's where I'm at with that. And it's needed. There's so many business coaches in the coaching industry that don't teach this stuff. And they're business coaching. And I look at it and I go, well, you're not really business coaching. You're empowerment coaching positioned to business people under the guise of business coaching. You're just handing out cookie cutter models. That doesn't work.
Yeah, it's very prevalent.
Yeah. So for me, this I feel is just the piece that can really help people. You are your own business coach. You are. You know what to do. but let's just make some decisions on what to do based on actual metrics in your business. And the rest is easy.
I'm so excited that you're doing this and doing this challenge. I wholeheartedly believe that this is such an important piece of every woman, man to dial into and know and take ownership for. And it happened to me at the end of last year. My accountant went fucking MIA, like literally ghosted me.
That can be a trauma too.
Right. And the other one that came to my mind as you're speaking was, investing in all these coaches and not getting anywhere, right? And spending all this money thinking that investment, that thing is going to make me the dollars, that thing is going to get me to there, which actually is a lot of outsourcing of power, which is something that I'm very passionate about, like bringing people back to actually making logical, smart decisions, right? That, of course, we love to buy on emotion, and when we can bring in a little bit of logic, which is something that I've had to really work on myself personally. But what was I saying? I've lost my train of thought. My accountant, and
yes,
and so it's been the best thing because I had an understanding, I met with her every month and it was, would go through the numbers and so forth. But it kind of was like the thing that it'd be like, cool, yep, in one ear, out the other. Like I wouldn't remember exactly where to go and get my profit and loss, even though it's actually so easy inside of Xero, but it was kind of like, I was giving away my power a little bit to her because I knew that she was there doing it for me and guiding me. And so I kind of was like a little bit hands off and outsourced it. Right. And because I thought, that's not my area of expertise. So I'm going to outsource it. Now, as a CEO, and one of the things that I'm preaching now and being an embodied CEO is actually really fucking knowing your shit to do with this. And so it's something that I've had to learn pretty recently, really, to own it. I'm loving doing it myself now. And I probably won't do it myself forever, but I feel so much more empowered. I feel, like I love it. I love my relationship with going in and seeing that now, my numbers and like really it's helped me to reclaim my power.
Yes. And this is what it's about because, sorry, I'm just going to blow the lid on this. Everyone is outsourcing their financial power to accountants and tax agents.
Yep.
An accountant and tax agent prepares financial reports for tax.
Yeah.
This is very different because the way you manage your money for business is management accounting, not tax accounting. And this is why there's a massive polarization when people go to their accountant, they look at their and they're like, this it doesn't work, it doesn't make sense, it doesn't, because it's like, well, what strategies are we using? We need to actually park that tax strategy. That's for them to sort out. We need to look at our business management, financial management strategy, which is completely different. So people need to stop outsourcing their power to a fucking tax agent.
Absolutely.
Because they're not going to help you. They're just going to keep you stuck in a system of paying fucking taxes. And that ain't the answer.
And the other thing is not only to do with like the tax side of things, but also it's not easy to find someone who's on the same wavelength as you in business because we're also, the people listening, we're more spiritual. And I think a lot of accountants are not.
They're not.
You're the unique,
Yeah, the unicorn.
Yeah, the total unicorn.
And, I've actually seen, clients that go to accountants and they talk about their business and the accountant's like, that's just a hobby. And it's like, well, no, this can be a tangible, real big business. And there's this level of not being taken seriously and being judged and criticized, or you can't do that, or that's not. And this is where I see we're moving out of the traditional 3D business, and this is into more of the holistic and spiritual businesses and practices and the ways that we move forward and conduct ourselves. So yeah, it's a bit of a problem, but I think the interesting thing is I have more and more accountants coming to me now and being like, what do you do? Like, how do you do that? I want to do it. And I'm
That's
like,
well, that's good. I mean, we need more, I guess, really, that are thinking more outside the box and yeah, willing to learn and adapt and change with the times.
but yeah,
Hopefully,
it's
become more
empowering
conscious.
you, right? So, and you don't empower yourself until you start looking at it. So thank you, accountant, for showing me and helping me get onto that empowerment journey and getting comfortable with the numbers, because I know when you first look at it and you look at the history and this is where people frazzle and they fry out because they're ashamed or guilty, or they just carry these heavy emotions with that. And yeah, I'm there to hold people in it and go, look, we can deal with the emotional stuff. That's not a problem, but let's look at the logical, tangible, and how can we now shift these metrics?
Yeah, I love it. And like really focus on forecasting, focus on horizons. Like what are we creating? Where are we moving into? Like that's been a big game changer for me, thinking about, well, this is where I am now, but actually where I'm headed is here and here in the future. And this is moving me to that. And thinking about business as I think a lot of coaches just focus so much on the next thing and making the next like income
Mhm.
versus it being really strategic and saying actually the cash that I'm making today is going towards investments for the future or this for the
For
future.
certain. For certain, that's part of the legacy.
Yeah.
And what I see is this is where you move out of going into business for profit. You're actually going into business for a completely different reason. So let's be smart about it. And we need that strategy and we need that direction, because you have to be thinking about the future, not just the instant gratification of, oh yeah, I'm going to launch this and get this and receive this and yay, happy days. But yeah, for what? And it's being really intentional with that, so that you can, yeah, sometimes, yeah, it's playing the long game.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that too is a really big shift in mindset because often we can shame ourselves and think even though we're doing well, I do this where I'm like, but I should be further ahead. I should be there. And then we end up not being proud of what we've accomplished. And it's kind of
I'm exactly the same. Total
right.
perfectionist. I'm like, I should have like this
Yeah.
and that and that. And it's
Yeah.
like, no, let's just meet us where we're at. And
And that's the conditioning, right? It's like
Mhm,
it's
mhm.
yeah, it's
We have high expectations naturally. And that's where I really love to work with that grand vision for certain. But we have to make it achievable. And we have to look at, well, what are your current resources? Because someone coming to me with zero resources, with zero revenue, can't expect to have a $1 million business in 3 months. But someone coming to me with a 30K monthly revenue and, 100K sitting in the bank, we got a bit more resources. So let's aim a bit higher so we can use those resources. So this is where I see, even in the coaching industry, there's a lot of, let's just charge our worth because that's our worth and we're worthy of that. And I'm like, well, the market, you might think you're worthy of that. I think you're worthy of that too, but maybe you're just a little bit premature. And the market is actually saying your worth is this. And that is the stepping stone to that next point. So, it's a journey that we go on, and we're all just making those stepping stones to the next level. And with that next level comes new devils.
it does indeed. Amazing. So I'm so excited to be able to share the link for your free event for everyone who's listening. Hopefully we can get this out in time for the start of it. What date does it start?
Oh, I'm not mucking around. We're kicking off on Monday. So
Okay.
Monday the 8th, but if this is not launched by then, I've really been sitting with like, do I want to replay? Do I want people to have access? And I want people to show up live.
Yep.
I really, really, because it's important and we're doing logical, actionable, this is bold, courageous action in a very short space of time. And I want to hold people to the accountability of that. And I know there will be people that fall off and don't carry through, and that's okay. That's perfect. So I've been sitting with a replay, whether I do a replay or whether I do it and then go, holy shit, that was amazing. I'm going to do it again. I'm not sure just yet, but there's a link. The link might take you to a replay, or it might take you to a date in the future.
Yep.
But it's definitely something that's needed, so I want to make it available for people.
Amazing. And in the show notes, we'll have all the information to reach out, to contact Abby and to follow her anyway. So sure, if you do that, you'll get to stay up to date and kept in the loop with what you're up to, what's happening, what you've decided about how things are going to roll. So go and make sure you all do that. So I'm going to give you a little piece here now about what I see in your chart. And
I love this. Thank you. Yeah.
it's such a standout. I mean, one of the things that is the biggest element within our chart is our conscious sun, and yours is gate 8. And this gate is actually, it's the archetype is the rebel with a cause. Of course. Right? And because it's about 70% of our energy. And actually, we naturally tend to carry this energy out in who we be. And the more we can really harness it and the more we can activate it and be in the essence of that, the more aligned we end up being. And so it's like you're here to make a contribution. It's located in the throat center as well. So it's very much to do with your contribution the collect with the collective, your authenticity, your self-expression, and actually being radically authentic. And what I know about you is that you really are. And it just is the energy that is felt. It's the energy that you've tapped into. And I don't know if it's been easy for you to do that. And maybe it has. Maybe it's been natural for you to do that. But maybe not. There is also the other side of this energy. Actually, first, before I go into that, it's this energy is really about making a difference to the world. And that's what I'm talking about with the collective, making a difference to others by staying true to yourself. And in doing that, you empower others to do the same. The shadow element of that and where we can get caught up is the energy of worrying about how our expression may impact our relationships or impact the way we are perceived. And it can actually create a sense of purposelessness within that because of the pressure, the weight of all of that external judgment and conditioning and things that may go on. So it's really good to have that awareness and to notice where and if that shows up, because in our awareness of that, we can be like, oh, I see, I see you there. I see what's playing out. And so it's from the throat. And then the way that the channel works is when 2 gates are activated, that creates a full channel. Your channel is not a full connection here. It's what we call a hanging gate. So the opposite gate is actually gate 1, and it's not activated. So sometimes what can happen is we have all this energy, like what I've just spoken about, to be the authentic expression. And sometimes it's like the energy can get stuck. And it's like, I have a lot to say. I'm here to express with the world. I've got all this that I want to get out. And so the opposite side of that is this divine creative. It's like kind of surrendering to the highs and the lows of your creativity and the mark, the legacy that you're here to make. And so it's really interesting to as well consider that, like, what is my capacity for creativity? And how do I really honor the natural cycles of my creativity? Do you experience that at all, where you kind of maybe sometimes feel like you've got stuff to say, or it just doesn't, don't know how to get it out, or like, I want to be true to myself in my creative process, but it's like, do I really know how to get it out? Like, is it the right moment to get it out? Do you ever experience that at all?
Totally, 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 totally. I like resonating so much with this. And I even feel over the last little bit, I've felt silenced and not able to express. And it's been a struggle. Anytime I do express and I feel that full flow and I'm like, rebel without a cause, here we go.
Mhm.
Then I feel like something will happen and it puts me back in my box, and I go into that worry, and I go into that I don't want to hurt anyone. I don't want anyone, to be negatively impacted by things that I say. And yeah, that is a constant battle. And it's like I understand the value of my words, but I also know how much it can and polarize people. So I'm super, super, super aware of that. And I know sometimes I'll make the decision to speak from ego and just say what I want to say because I want to say it. And then universe will show me that where I actually spoke from, here's the ripple of that. And then there'll be other times where I feel like I'm sharing in full flow, in full function, in full expression, and it's so divine. And the response, then the ripple of that is a completely different feeling. So it's seeing the nuances. I don't think we can always get it right. I mean, it's not a fully open gate, right? I mean, like,
No.
who's carrying the other side of that gate? so I can
Exactly,
so
right?
I can sit
Exactly.
in that, right? That's where I
Yeah.
want to be.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. It
at
is
this,
really being
yeah,
aware of that, yeah, of who's in your environment, and how can you tap into that energy to support you to feel really safe in doing that. And then also just, yeah, really having that awareness. And because quite often what can happen when we are in this stuckness, it's a great place to look at. Right? Like, what can I do to change my energy? Who can I bring into my environment to help me move through this? Because we're not solo beings. Like, we're not here to create life on our own. And so, harnessing the power of someone else's hanging gate that will create that full channel for you is really powerful thing. And the one other thing that I want to say too, on the opposite side of our sun is the earth. So we've got our conscious earth, and that helps it ground us in fulfilling on this energy. And so for you, it's gate 14, and this is the energy to actually pursue your dreams, to follow, like to be in true
I need
prosperity.
to
And
need to write
yeah.
these gates down. Gate what and gate what? So I'm feeling gate 14 and gate 1.
Gate 8. Yeah, gate 8. Gate
8.
1, gate 1 is the open, undefined gate that is in the G center that, yeah, is what you wanna find someone with that,
I'm going straight to Shane's chart.
go and do it. Yeah, go and have a look. You can do composite charts if you've got an app or something, you can bring
I
it up
actually
and see,
do.
yeah, if you
Oh,
guys make that channel.
that's so
Um, but it's just really like when the earth helps ground us in our sun, right? Our sun is this big energy. So it's just really understanding that when and you know this, we've had conversation about this. You've just created the success that have by following your heart. It's like
totally.
God led me here, right? It's like spirit led me here. So it's like when you're doing that, it shows you the path for making money, and by ultimately following your dreams. Again, an obstacle can happen when we just get stuck in the fear of, what if my dreams don't happen? What if I can't make this true? So it's when you're feeling like, I'm just doing this because for the sake of making money, then, that's a great indication for you that that's not where you want to be.